A film crew interviews a bunch of horror genre artists, filmmakers, and journalists about their fascination with monsters at a convention. Some of them elaborate on the idea of monstrous creatures as a form of escapism, some related to the exploration of the human psyche, and others appreciate them purely for their frightening aesthetic that captures the imagination. The interviewees ponder the notion of real monsters existing, and almost all agree that they would be somewhere concealed from the human world. Soon after, at the Ariscope Pictures office in Hollywood, California, Adam Green discusses his bizarre relationship with fans as a horror filmmaker. While most people send Adam fan art and other trinkets, he singles out a man named William Dekker, who sent him a message claiming the existence of real monsters. Adam browses through the abundant material Dekker sent him, including copious notes, news clippings, and sketches of the monsters. He then decides to refocus his documentary project to investigate Dekker's claims. One day, Adam and his cameraman, Will Barrett, drive to Chatsworth, California, to meet with Dekker. Adam monologues about having to put himself out there when he was starting since he didn't have marketing. Because of that, he became close with his fans. Now that he has success, he feels like everyone wants a piece of him, but he appreciates those who take the time to write and send him letters like Dekker did. Arriving in front of the house, Adam explains that he previously met with Dekker to ask to interview him, and he didn't technically say no. Days pass and Adam's film crew preps Dekker's living room area for the interview, though Dekker hesitates to tell the story in front of many people. Adam reassures him that it's all standard procedure. The interview begins and Dekker introduces himself as a 61-year-old retired police detective. Adam prods him to elaborate on his claim that there are monsters that live underneath the human world. Dekker gets into a yarn about children born with various disfigurements who are often labeled freaks or monsters. These children disappear at a certain age, abandoned or presumed dead. Dekker believes that these children are still around close by, living in a world he calls the Marrow. Dekker points at pictures and maps that supposedly mark the locations of entrances to the Marrow. He believes these entrances lead to a metropolis where the monsters live freely in a society much like humans. A skeptical Adam reorients the conversation by asking about Dekker's childhood. Dekker explains how growing up in a rural New Hampshire meant he frequently played alone. He recalls a childhood event when he encountered a humanoid creature with facial features like a serpent, terrifying him. The creature vanished without a trace, but he refrained from telling his parents because of their dismissive attitude. Dekker says he's seen other creatures of varying shapes and sizes, albeit from a distance in the woods. He then tells Adam that he shot footage of an entrance he found to the Marrow. As the interview concludes for the day, Will spots a chained and padlocked door behind Dekker. Adam pesters Dekker about what's behind the door, but Dekker firmly dismisses it as just a messy storage room. A few days afterward, at Adam's house, Will is filming him and his wife, Riley, eating dinner and discussing Dekker's credibility. Adam defends Dekker by relating it to his fascination with monsters and how they're more misunderstood than scary. Riley reminds Adam to be careful, as she doesn't want to have to tell his mom he's been stabbed by a crazy fan. Days later, Will, Adam, and Dekker arrive at the park where the entrance to the Marrow is located. Adam points out a sign that says the park closes at dusk, but Dekker insists that they can go inside since it's a public place. A park ranger finds them on the way, insisting that they should be out before dusk. Adam asks why they should leave by then, trying to get the officer to reveal something spooky about the park. However, the park ranger just reiterates that the park closes at dusk. Dekker then brings them to a cemetery within the park and points out a hole in the ground surrounded by trees. He emphasizes they should be discreet, as they're just there to observe and not interact. They crouch behind a tombstone a good distance from the hole, and Dekker says there's nothing to do but wait. Night falls and Adam pokes around Dekker's personal life, discovering that he was married long ago. Dekker suddenly asks Will about his family, and is visibly delighted when Will tells him about his 2 kids. Dekker describes how the creatures come and go, with no fixed activity over the countless nights he's monitored the hole. Will complains about the poor visibility in the dark woods, and Dekker suddenly orders Adam to turn off their lights. He points toward the trees around the hole, saying there's something right in front of them. Adam and Will try to see through the darkness but spot nothing, and Dekker eventually tells them it went back to the hole. Adam makes no effort to conceal his disappointed face at Will's camera. Back at the Ariscope studio the following day, Adam and his editor Josh review their footage of the cemetery. They find no visible trace of whatever creature Dekker saw, even as Josh cranks the video to max brightness. A deflated Adam leaves, much to Josh's bemusement. In another interview, Dekker shows Adam a detailed sketch of a creature he calls Vance, a humanoid figure with a smiling face painted on a sack over its head. Dekker describes Vance's behavior as a kind of gatekeeper, guiding creatures down the marrow and keeping intruders out. According to Dekker, the commissioned sketch accurately represents the creature's actual appearance. He holds up another creature sketch, depicting a misshapen figure similar to conjoined twins, which he names Frog and Huck. When Adam asks if the same artist drew it, Dekker lets slip the words, "my son," and then stops. Adam tries to clarify what Dekker meant by that, as he's never mentioned having any children beforehand, but Dekker talks over him, describing the creature. Adam brings up the use of lights, but Dekker insists that the lights scare the creatures away. The filmmaker insists that he wants to believe his story, but he needs to be able to capture monster footage for their documentary. On their second night of filming The Hole in the Woods, Will remarks on the improved visibility with night vision. Dekker immediately directs their sight onto the two trees flanking the hole, saying something is moving close to the tree on the right. A weird rustling sound makes Will turn the camera sharply, and Dekker exclaims that it's right in front of them now. As Will tries to refocus the camera, Dekker argues with Adam's insistence on turning on the light. The light suddenly turns on and Will's camera captures a brief flash of a hideous creature screeching with its eerily human mouth. Dekker screams to turn the light off as they're once again plunged into darkness. When Adam switches the light back on, Dekker angrily exclaims that they're done, walking away. At the Ariscope studio the same night, Adam excitedly talks about their success at finally capturing footage of a real monster. Will asks him if he's scared, but Adam rebuffs the question by saying it's all he's ever dreamed of since he was a kid. He reasons that looking different from regular humans isn't enough to warrant fearing them. Adam eagerly shows Josh the monster footage, but the editor remains skeptical. Adam is incredulous at Josh's pessimism, saying that this could be their chance to show the world something truly unique. Kane Hodder arrives and is quickly briefed about the documentary project. Kane is an actor and frequent collaborator of Adam. Upon seeing the footage, Kane remarks that it looks cool, thinking that the creature is VFX work for a movie. Will backs up Adam on the authenticity of the footage, but Josh and Kane keep making fun of them. 2 weeks later, Adam visits Dekker again to ask about the marrow entrance. Dekker is relieved to report that the hole is still there and that the creatures haven't moved the entrance elsewhere. Adam tells Dekker he needs more footage and proposes a non-intrusive method for filming the location. Will explains to Dekker that they'll set up a soft streetlight contraption on the location. They'll also rig the surrounding trees with small cameras, all pointed towards the entrance. The equipment will be set up in the daytime, so no one's disturbed, while they capture hours of footage for presumably multiple nights. Dekker mulls the plan over but has no objections. The following day, Adam shows Dekker the 5-camera setup and the fake streetlight. Dekker is concerned that the light might arouse the creature's suspicion, but Adam assures him that it's fine. In a subsequent interview, Dekker tells Adam that he discovered 40 species of creatures in his decades of research about the marrow. Furthermore, he recounts the story of a creature he calls Brella, depicted in a sketch having a female figure but with the head obscured by a large umbrella. Dekker implies Brella had something to do with the gruesome murder of a college-aged boy in that area. This revelation makes Adam uncomfortable, and they wrap up the interview. A few days later, in an Ariscope production meeting, Adam and Will discuss their ongoing monster documentary with their producer, Sarah. She warns Adam that exploring the marrow story might be dangerous, in addition to Dekker's questionable credibility. Adam tries to convince his colleagues that their monster project with Dekker is worth pursuing. The day Adam, Will, and Dekker collect their cameras from the park, they notice that camera number 2 is missing. That night, at Dekker's place, they discover a new species of creature as they review the footage. One of the cameras caught a large, hunched-over shape lumbering out of the hole, and Dekker names it Little Bigfoot, to Adam's slight dismay. Back at the Ariscope studio, Josh is finally convinced the footage they collected from the woods is the real deal. Adam later makes a video log back at his house, expressing his excitement at their discoveries. Adam then pauses the project to attend a month-long tour of horror conventions. During one convention, Adam shows his monster footage to fellow filmmaker and Hollywood veteran Tom Holland. When Holland assumes the creature is VFX work, Adam recounts how Dekker's marrow story led to his discoveries. Dekker's name rings a bell for Holland, and he promptly discredits the old man and his claims as a hoax. This is soon corroborated by another filmmaker, Mick Garris, who gets roped into the conversation. Garris tells Adam how Dekker antagonized every other horror director in Hollywood with his outlandish story. Driving back from the convention, Adam and Will think about confronting Dekker regarding the incidents with the other directors. Days later, Adam meets with Dekker and fishes for the reason he contacted Adam in particular about the marrow story. Dekker answers with some light flattery but ultimately denies ever reaching out to other directors except Adam. At the Ariscope studio, Josh shows Adam strange footage from the cameras they set up at the marrow entrance. It shows Dekker turning off 2 of the cameras and seemingly interacting with an unseen figure at the hole's entrance as if feeding something. Adam watches on in shock and confusion at the footage. The next night, Dekker was recorded touching something inside the entrance before crying. Adam, Will, and Josh discuss whether it's worth continuing the project despite Dekker's weird lies and behavior. As they are talking, the footage in the background shows one of the tombstone-looking objects standing up and walking away out of frame. The guys continue their discussion of Dekker's mysterious identity, and Adam speculates that Dekker possibly thinks one of the marrow creatures is his son. Josh reminds them that Dekker mentioned being a Boston police detective in the past, so Adam decides to travel to Boston to find someone who can vouch for Dekker's credibility. A few days later in Boston, Adam and Will speak to Sergeant Sean Ross of the Boston Police Department. Ross says that in his 24 years of serving in the Boston PD, he doesn't remember ever working with William Dekker. On the way back to California, Adam and Will plan to visit the Marrow entrance without Dekker's presence or knowledge to confirm whether it was all a hoax or not. Soon after, the pair drive to the woods near the cemetery to the spot where Will's streetlight is set up. They find the Marrow entrance and Adam tries yelling at the opening, hoping for any sign of monsters to appear, albeit in a flippant and joking fashion. Adam gives up soon enough until something pulls his foot, making him fall. When he takes his foot out, he finds his right boot is missing. Will doesn't believe him, which prompts Adam to ask him to retrieve his boot from the hole he just fell through. Will chickens out, so Adam tries reaching through the hole for his boot. When he retrieves it, Dekker suddenly appears, startling them both and demanding to know what they've done. He scolds them for not following his advice about being discreet, but Adam argues that they needed to know he wasn't orchestrating anything. As they argue, Will pans the camera down to see a small creature with a human mouth running at his feet. As the men try to see what it was through the darkness and the bushes, they hear a faint growling sound. Will turns to see a grinning, cartoonish face staring at him from the brush. It turns out to be the top of the creature's head, and it looks up to reveal a more monstrous face, screeching loudly as it chases them through the woods. As they reach the car, Dekker gets in while Adam is excited at the encounter. He and Will try to get a good shot of the monster, but only hear faint growls and screeches. Dekker tells them to get in the car, and as they prepare to drive away, the creature named Vance appears in front of the car, blocking their path. Vance removes the sack over its head, revealing a pasty humanoid form with dark eyes and a black, gaping mouth. Vance's sack transforms into multiple appendages, and Will's camera pulls back to reveal a monstrous hand around Dekker's neck. Vance then gets on top of the car, but after a frantic struggle, they manage to drive away and escape the cemetery. Upon arriving at Dekker's place, Adam resumes his argument with the old man. Dekker deflects Adam's accusations of lying and instead focuses on getting back to the cemetery. He keeps saying he can't lose a certain him without elaborating. When Adam suggests calling the police, Dekker screams in protest. Believing that the marrow has been moved, he plots to dig a tunnel until he finds it again. He then calmly tells Adam and Will to come back at sunrise the next day, then orders them out of the house. The following day, Adam knocks on Dekker's door but nobody answers. He catches the neighbor driving away to ask about the old man, but according to the neighbor, the house has been empty for a year. Adam breaks into the house to find it empty of Dekker's belongings, except for the furniture. Adam and Will also go through the previously padlocked door that's now open and descend the stairs behind it. They discover a filthy basement room with chains mounted on the wall and what looks like feces on top of newspapers, littering the floor. Unable to stand the stench, they leave the house. Adam then brings a reluctant Will back to the cemetery and, to Adam's great dismay, finds that the marrow entrance has vanished. A month passes and Adam looks unkempt and stressed while recording a final video log detailing how he's been unable to reach Dekker. He then holds up the missing camera number 2, which was delivered to him a week prior. He's unable to continue speaking, looking visibly shaken but gazes transfixed at the small camera in his hand. Footage of camera number 2 shows a silent cameraman walking through the dark brush, then entering what looks like an earthen tunnel underground. It eventually stops before a metal cage containing Dekker, stripped of clothing but alive. The creature with the camera appears to rattle the cage until Dekker fearfully manages to deliver a message. He repeatedly denies the existence of monsters and pleads with anyone who finds the message to stay away. He screams, "Monsters are not real," before the footage cuts. The footage plays again, this time showing the front door of Adam's house. The creature holding the camera breaks in, finds the room where Adam and Riley are sleeping, then places the camera on the bedside. A monstrously disfigured hand appears to almost caress Adam's face before letting out an ear-splitting sound that jolts him awake.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.